Welcome to the Fight Season podcast. What up, everybody? I'm here with Andrew Capichetti. We got our researcher, Dante Greco, over there in the back. We got our sound engineer, Christian. What up, Christian? And it's been an awesome week, but the big news that broke that basically shook up the MMA world, Francis Ngannou has officially been released by the UFC, and it was pretty shocking, but was replaced. The good news is that Jon Jones is filling in. He is back, 8-fight deal with the UFC, but Francis Ngannou is gone. Immediate reaction. How you feeling about it?
You know what the fuck going on? How am I feeling about Francis being released?
It's kind of sad. Kind of, you know.
Me and myself, more power to Francis. I've never been the biggest fan of his. He's had some good wins. To me, he hasn't had some massive wins. Like he beat Curtis Blades twice. He beat
Stipe.
He beat Stipe. Those are cool. I would have loved to see him versus Jon Jones. I'm a little disappointed I'm not going to get that fight. I think Jon Jones would have handled them. We'll see what Francis does next. I'm going to side with Dana and the UFC on this one. They had to do what they had to do. Dana said he offered him a ton of money to make him the highest paid heavyweight ever. I believe him. And why Francis didn't take that money, I don't know. He did. He has mentioned in the past it's about more than money. Maybe it's about respect or the way he's portrayed.
It's kind of a little unclear. I mean, I know what you're talking about. I've seen the interviews where he talked about how it's past money because he said that the money was nice, that there were some good offers. But, to be honest, it might just be about the freedom aspect of it, because I think what he said in one of his previous interviews was that the money, when you get the money, you're giving up the freedom, that you can't have one without the other. And I think maybe he's hoping that he can sort of find a middle ground elsewhere. Where that is we're open to speculation, but that's my take on it. The thing that I really want to see is who he is going to fight, because there's so many options. We've posted a bunch of stuff on our socials. We posted a reel of Wiz Khalifa. You did an interview with Wiz, and the invitation is open for him to go to the PFL, so that's an opportunity, and I'd be stoked for that too.
Shout out Wiz.
Yeah.
No, we've never seen a champion be released like this. I don't think in the history of the UFC there's been a current champion who's been released.
Fedor, I believe, had a similar contract situation. Yeah,
it would have been nice to see him. Not nice to see him leave on a loss, but it would have made more sense for someone to leave on a loss. But when you leave as champion, now the problem is that the next UFC champion, whether it's Jon Jones or Ciryl Gane, they're scheduled to fight March 4th, I believe, in Las Vegas.
At T-Mobile, yeah.
People are going to be saying, oh, well, they're not the real heavyweight champion, because the real heavyweight champion of the world is Francis Ngannou.
Right.
So that's the issue there.
Did he vacate his title, or did the UFC strip him of it?
They stripped him of the title.
Okay.
They stripped him.
So, they basically they negotiating for 2 years. The past 2 years. And Ngannou was coming off of a knee surgery, so I don't know if that played any part of it, but
Ngannou drives a hard negotiation.
Yeah,
he's a hard negotiator, I guess, or his team, whoever's negotiating for him.
I hope it was the right call, whatever it ends up being.
This might not be a popular opinion, but it is my opinion. I feel the UFC. There's different fighters who need the UFC, and UFC need different fighters. I think Francis needed the UFC, and I don't think this loss is going to hurt the UFC as much as some people would think it is. The UFC needs Conor McGregor. The UFC needs Nate Diaz. The UFC needed Ronda Rousey, but I don't think the UFC really needs Francis Ngannou, so I think they're not going to be hurt too much by this release.
It does help that Jon Jones signs an 8-fight deal. It's announced that he signs an 8-fight deal the same day that it's announced that Francis Ngannou has been released by the UFC. So it does help that you can sort of replace Francis with Jon Jones, who will fight. With the GOAT, the greatest fighter of all time.
And I saw a report today by his manager, representative, financial advisor, John Schaefer. Jon Jones I think his name is Schaefer. Long time Jon Jones representative. says that now John Jones is the second highest paid of all time in the UFC, behind Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it makes sense. He has to be.
Yeah.
Just for the record, Richard Schaefer.
Richard Schaefer. Sorry about that.
Talk about driving a hard bargain, though. I bet John Jones got a good deal because he was, for 3 years, he was in a negotiation as well. So he's been trying to get the right deal. 8 fights, though. That's pretty incredible.
And a lot of John Jones is a lot of people's GOAT, greatest of all time. He's my personal. I think John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time. And so it's nice to see him get rewarded with being the second highest paid fighter of all time now, behind Conor McGregor. And we'll see how his heavyweight run starts. March 4th in Vegas. That's going to be massive. Facing Ciryl Gane. How do you...
Ciryl Gane. I say Gane, but so we did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and I said one of my predictions was that Gane would end 2023 as a heavyweight champion. I didn't know he was going to have a title fight this soon. God, I got to say, I don't know who to pick in this one, but I love the fight. I think it's very exciting. I think it's a good fight for John to return to as well. As much as, John Jones is great, I do feel like Francis was kind of a scary person to return to the UFC after a 3-year layoff, but yeah.
Cyril's a fantastic striker, so this is going to be... And John Jones is a striker too, wrestler first with great striking ability. I think,
and also one of the highest fight IQs in the history of the sport.
Yeah, so. I think John Jones handles Ciryl easily.
Fair play.
He'll just wrestle him down, hold him down, ground and pound. But we've never seen John Jones fight a guy as big as Ciryl. Ciryl.
And it will be his first fight at heavyweight.
Yeah, so we'll see if weight plays into that at all.
But did you see that the fight was leaked by the T-Mobile Arena? Yeah. The photo got released before the UFC could break it. You've said in previous podcasts that Dana doesn't get pissed at many stuff. He did admit he got pretty pissed off when that got leaked because they wanted to make the big announcement that John Jones was back with an 8-fight deal, and we good? All right. So that was kind of funny that T-Mobile leaked it.
Yeah, T-Mobile, breaking news there. Shout out T-Mobile Arena. Yeah. Great arena. If you guys haven't ever been there to watch a fight, it's a fantastic venue. Obviously it's on the Strip in Vegas, surrounded by tons of places to hang out and party. And I personally love the T-Mobile. I've had many great memories there, but I never envisioned them breaking a news story like that. Breaking John Jones's
How does that happen?
Heavyweight debut.
You put it up on the billboard. Of course, somebody's going to see it. How does that happen?
I think whoever is working the billboard and the electronics, the grid, press send probably a day too early. 24 hours too early.
Yeah, that sounds like there's an intern there in the graphics department at T-Mobile that got fired over the weekend.
Well, Dana said, I was very, very angry a few hours ago. I'm over it now.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah. Dana gets over stuff quick.
The smartest people in life don't harp on situations. They get over them quick.
Yeah. I wanted to circle back, though. You did talk to Wiz Khalifa. Where do you want to see Francis go? I mean, PFL sounds dope. He can make $1 million fighting somebody. I mean, I have something in mind. I'm just curious. What do you want to see for Francis?
Where should Francis go? Tons of options. Boxing. He can box Derek Chisora. He can box Tyson Fury.
That would be amazing.
He can box Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz. Tons of heavyweights out there for him to box. He can go to the PFL and join Jake Paul and Wiz Khalifa in the PFL and Peter Murray. He can go to one championship with Chatri, And
Bare Knuckle made an offer.
Bare Knuckle championship. That'd be crazy. I think that's his least.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to.
Gotta imagine a bare knuckle punch from Ngannou, though.
Of him joining. Yeah.
Bellator? You say Bellator?
Bellator. So that's actually where I want him to go. I think Bellator with the promotion they have in place and Scott Coker leading the charge. He's been in the game decades. He knows what he's doing. I think if Scott Coker can get his hands on a big star like Francis, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Put him in there against who's the heavyweight champion?
Let's see.
Former UFC guy, former UFC 205.
This is from CBS Sports. They say from heavyweight champion Ryan Bader.
Bader, exactly. Put him in against Bader. That'd be fantastic.
To Fedor Emelianenko.
I think Bellator has the proper pieces in place, promotional-wise, to really give him the push he needs. I think Bellator, they just signed their homebred talent, AJ McKee. They have guys like Pitbull. They have plenty of former UFC talent. I think adding Francis Ngannou would be the biggest piece they've ever added, and
I would love to see the Tyson Fury Ngannou fight. It's probably not going to happen, but I did see Sean Strickland was talking about it in his post-fight interview. By the way, Strickland put on a good performance. It was good fight, good win over Imavov.
got back in the win column.
Yep, that was huge for him. But he did say after in the post-fight presser that Ngannou should just go, because they were teammates. I believe they sparred together, trained together.
Yeah.
That he should just go and get that quote unquote "fuck you" money fighting Tyson Fury. And I kind of agree. If that fight is even on the table, I doubt it. But if it is, that'd be amazing. And
I think that fight is on the table. And obviously, anyone who knows boxing knows that Tyson Fury would just pick apart Francis Ngannou.
Well, yeah, the technical skill of it.
Yeah, it would be a bigger mismatch than Mayweather McGregor. You know,
but Ngannou is he's
a power puncher.
He's
but
behind the whole
Tyson
fight.
Fury
He's
one of the greatest
still,
heavyweight boxers of all time.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, even although you're a UFC champion, you can't step into the boxing ring and be competitive. I don't think it's competitive. I think Tyson Fury puts him out whenever he wants.
No, Ngannou would have to win that fight by knockout. There's no other way he would win that fight.
Yeah, Tyson Fury's a genius in there. He's as technical as it gets. But where would you like to see Francis land? Bellator is my choice.
I think it would be cool to see him in boxing, just because for that very reason alone. I feel like boxing's at its best when you have great heavyweights, right?
Right.
And obviously you have one of the best ever with Fury. And you got Usyk, you got Wilder, but I don't know. I just think boxing is at its best when the heavyweight division is stacked. Right. So I think that would be pretty dope to see. Let Francis get maybe like a fight or two in just to get his bearings in there, but that would be my preference to see. If not boxing, wherever he can make the most money. Would that be the PFL? You think? What MMA promotion would be the best money opportunity for him?
The fighters do talk about that they're paid well in Bellator. PFL with that new super fight division offering 50% split.
Yeah,
he could probably make the most money in PFL.
Well, there was rumors that he would be joining the PFL before this news ever came out. So
you have two massive free agents now, Nate Diaz and Francis Ngannou. Interesting to see where they both end up, who gets signed first, who announces the fight first. I know they're fond of each other. Francis likes Nate. Nate likes Francis. So you know, and I know Nate probably likes the power move. Francis, you know, Nate's all about fighter empowerment. And he probably is a fan of this move Francis did. So interesting to see where they both end up and who announces the fight first. And like we've been saying, 2023 is going to be massive for the fight game. Boxing, MMA, so many unknowns, so many big fights to make. And this is just another fight to make. Is Francis Ngannou.
Yeah,
who's he fighting?
It's funny that you mentioned Nate and the PFL and Jake Paul, obviously, but Nate posted not to sidetrack here, but Nate posted a video, sort of a call out of Jake Paul's dad.
Right. No, that was crazy.
And basically the video shows, if you can go check out Nate Diaz's Twitter account or Inside Fighting's Instagram. But Nate posted a video of Jake Paul's dad kind of like fanboying for him a little bit, saying, "Hey, I'm Jake Paul's dad. It's an honor to meet you. We just want to say that I think I love your dog attitude. You're like, I have so much respect for you." And then the video cuts to Jake Paul's dad on Logan and Logan Paul's podcast, just basically trashing Nate and saying that Jake would handle him. And
he says Jake would knock the piss out of Nate Diaz.
Right.
He will knock the piss out of Nate Diaz.
So the video you're talking about.
You okay there, Dante? What's going on?
I think I caught whatever you had 2 episodes ago.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
So the video Nate Diaz posted on his Twitter is basically exposing Jake Paul's dad as a fake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in one video he's kissing Nate Diaz's ass. "Oh, I'm a big fan. You're the man." And the very next video, it switches to him bashing Nate. Nate's a punk. Jake Paul will knock him out.
Talking trash about his record.
Yeah, obviously you're going to be rooting for your son, so you can't fault him for rooting for his son. But you can fault him for being completely fake to Nate's face and kissing his ass and then going on a podcast. Who knows? It could have been the very next day. But what a commenter and people have pointed out is that in these two videos, Jake's dad is wearing the exact same shirt.
Oh, wow. I did not even notice that.
So he's wearing the same exact shirt. So it was probably filmed soon after he was sucking up to Nate, kissing his ass. It could have been filmed in the, who knows, maybe the guy was wearing the same shirt in the same for 48 hours. But not a cool thing to do. You know, the old saying in the era we live now is keep that same energy.
Yep.
And you got to keep that same energy to people's face. Like, don't be fake. And Nate's comment was, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The shithead family.
The shithead family,
which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I do want to say I do like Jake Paul and Logan Paul. They're nice guys. I've met them, but that wasn't cool by his pops to totally front to Nate's face. If you don't like someone, just let them know, or don't be fake. Don't totally front. Then you know. But it was just a quick switch up. It was pretty funny.
I loved the video. One thing I got to say about Jake Paul's dad, if you want to know everything you need to know about Jake Paul's dad, there's a YouTube video from when Jake Paul used to make like a video a day, his vlog a day, on his old vlog, like his before he became like a huge boxer. They did a prank on a girl at the Team 10 house where Jake Paul was like, they got a girl blindfolded and they were like, yo, you're going to kiss so-and-so. You have to guess which one of us that it is or something like that. And then they bring in Jake Paul's dad and Logan Paul's dad to kiss the girl. And she has no idea that she's kissing Logan Paul and Jake Paul's dad.
Gross.
She's like 19, 18 years old. And he's like, yeah. So go watch that video if you need to.
Pull that up, bro. Can I watch that?
Yeah.
No,
so
but
find it.
We'll check it out later.
Yeah, I'll find it for you.
So that's interesting. Jake Paul still hasn't announced a fight. So many people haven't announced a fight. It's like, who's Ryan Garcia fighting next? Who's Tank fighting? Who's Jake Paul fighting?
See, Greg Paul the Creeper.
Greg Paul the Creeper. Posted 5 years ago. You guys check that out.
Yeah.
I'll take Jesse Rowe's advice for it. He says it's a funny video.
It is. Sure. It's cringy, but it's worth watching.
We got Dante the Creeper as our research guy.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Is Nate going to go to the PFL? Sorry, I'm not trying to change the subject here. But
is Nate going to go to the PFL? I don't know. Where Nate's going. Like I said, so many free agents, so many announcements to make, so much going on in the fight game in 2023. It's probably the most exciting year the fight game has ever seen.
Yeah.
You did say I talked to Wiz Khalifa leaving his workout last week. Wiz is always cool.
Love Wiz.
I've interviewed Wiz probably 10 to 15 times over the past 10 years. Always super nice, good guy. Wiz Khalifa has minority ownership. He has a stake in PFL. I asked him if he'd like to see Nate join PFL. Of course, he'd love to see Nate join. He would love to see Francis Ngannou join. And he even shouted out Izzy Adesanya. Izzy Adesanya is obviously under contract with the UFC, so that's probably not going to happen. But he did throw a shout out to Izzy, and he said, "Fighters coming to the PFL. Let's get rich together. Let's get rich. Let's make the fighters rich."
It depends on how much money the PFL can make over the next couple of years, because it's remained to be seen how much money that they're actually making. But I could see some UFC champions who don't want to re-sign with the UFC, who want to just go and get that check, maybe face some quote unquote lesser opponents, as Dana White said, which I don't want to say that about fighters, but that's what Dana White was saying about Ngannou, is that
Dana White feared that Ngannou
wanted to fight inferior opponents for more money.
Right.
And hey, if you've been a champion for a long time, like Izzy or let's say Kamaru Usman, you want to go maybe step in the cage against some lesser opponents for more money to put some butts in seats, go for it, man. Make your check.
Something interesting I think Wiz said when I asked him who he got in a Nate Diaz Jake Paul fight, in boxing and MMA. He said it was a toss-up for both. He didn't pick a clear winner. He obviously wanted to show respect to Jake, and because on the
new investor in the company, he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he didn't want to ruffle no feathers. But on the contrary, I talked to Chuck Liddell the very next day.
Right.
Chuck Liddell said Nate Diaz in boxing, Nate Diaz in MMA, 2-0. Chuck was very adamant Jake Paul has no chance versus Nate.
I love that interview. I loved when because you brought up how Chuck at one point or another wanted to fight Jake Paul.
Right.
And Chuck was like, "Oh, what, Jake? So Jake's fighting MMA. He wants to fight me in MMA now too." I thought that was funny.
And then he's whispering like, "There's no chance." He knows.
He knows.
Chuck is 53 years old, and he still has that most confidence in his abilities. And he thinks if he were to fight Jake Paul, it's Iceman all day.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be interesting. No.
But I mean, when you hear a legend of the sport like that,
Good to see Chuck, though, out. Chuck's looking healthy. He was walking the streets of Beverly Hills. Chuck's the man. Shout out Chuck Liddell. Shout out the Iceman. All-time great. All-time UFC legend.
He also commented on the Conor McGregor steroid allegations.
He said it was none of his business.
Yeah,
right?
he's I'm not here to judge. It does look like he put on a bunch of weight in a short amount of time, but he's not one to judge. He did say that Conor going Hollywood will not affect his championship aspirations. So.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck's a guy who's gone Hollywood before.
Yeah.
He's been in multiple commercials. He used to be in that car battery commercial. Remember that one?
No, which one is that?
He used to be in a commercial with something to do with the battery. I don't know. It wasn't Allstate. It was
Duracell or something? No.
Christian, you remember the commercial Chuck Liddell used to be in or no?
No, I don't know. Yeah, it's been Duralast.
It was probably Duralast.
AutoZone Duralast batteries, walk the
Yeah.
walk, featuring Chuck.
Okay.
Our research guy's quick.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. But no, it's good to see Chuck. Chuck's picking Nate Diaz, and he says his team Nate Diaz all day. Obviously, he has mutual admiration, mutual respect for each other. So it's always good to see two legends respect each other. I did ask him his Mount Rushmore of MMA, and his picks were there Matt Hughes, B.J. Penn,
GSP,
and he had one more.
Silva.
Oh, Anderson Silva.
Yeah, those were his 4.
Some solid picks.
Which, by the way, is the correct way to do a Mount Rushmore pick. Because people forget, a lot of people mistake it for your top 5, right?
Yeah, no.
Top 5 is not the Mount Rushmore. That's your top 4.
Yeah.
So he answered the question correctly, and I appreciated that.
Chuck's a sharp guy.
Yeah.
Guy. He gave us 4, and
I appreciated that he put BJ Penn on there too, because not a lot of people, I think that some people missed BJ Penn in that.
Right.
But that dude, he's got like 8 belts.
Right.
So
my Mount Rushmore of MMA would be CM Punk, Mike Jackson, who else? Sean O'Malley, and I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that one, but
can we put Hoist on there?
Hoist.
Yeah.
Shout out Hoist Gracie, our sound engineer, Christian, big MMA fan, actually trains MMA. He chimed in with Hoist Gracie honorable mention.
Yeah, he just Christian, while we were off camera, gave me a link to an app called Hi-Ya, which apparently you can go watch all the old Bruce Lee films. So if you want to watch some old Bruce Lee movies, old kung fu, old martial arts films, go check out Hi-Ya, and you can basically, is that what am I correct, Christian? Yeah, awesome. So go check it out.
I do want to give some quick birthday shout outs here on the podcast. We had Ernie Reyes turn 50 years old yesterday.
Let's go.
On Sunday, January 15th. Shout out
yeah.
Ernie Reyes. Today, January 16th, we have Chris Avila from NDA turning 30 years old.
Let's go.
So
friend of Inside Fighting.
A lot of greatness born in January. We have our researcher here, the Creeper. Your birthday's coming up when? January 20th, right?
Are you talking to someone else?
Dante.
Is it your birthday coming up?
It's coming up on Friday, yeah.
All right.
25.
The 20th.
Wow.
25 years old.
You're going to be 35, right?
No, 23.
Yeah. I will not be wishing you a happy birthday, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not very manly of you to hide your age, brother.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this is Hollywood.
Yeah.
I've gone Hollywood like Connor.
Just be honest, bro.
Happy birthday to all the January legends. A
Yep.
lot of you out there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, let's.
What else is on the
Oh, I do want to. Okay, so we did see UFC Vegas 67. That was actually a pretty good card for a fight night. Pretty good card. Strickland put on a great show. He had lost his last 2 fights to Pereira. He lost a tough decision to Cannonier, and he just absolutely pieced up Nasruddin Imavov, who's a tough dude. Took a lot of good shots. Strickland put on a great show, but I do think that the highlight of the night, and by far the most impressive performance, was Umar Nurmagomedov. Yet another, Nurmagomedov is on the scene. This dude absolutely put Raoni Barcelos, am I pronouncing that correctly?
I assume so.
Put his lights out. Just absolutely flattened the dude.
Crazy knockouts.
And
it's great to see a knockout.
Awesome performance, yeah.
At those lower weight classes. Some people like to say, some people say those flyweights and bantamweights don't really bring power, but that was a powerful knockout.
Yeah.
In his post-fight presser, he did say Umar Nurmagomedov, he did predict he will be bantamweight champion by 2024.
Yeah. I believe him too. I mean, I don't see
no reason to doubt him, right?
Yeah.
That win brought him to 16-0, I believe.
He's 16-0. It was Raoni Barcelos knocked him out, who's now 17-4. Good fighter. that bantamweight division is just is stacking up, man.
Begs the question: is bantamweight the most stacked division in the UFC? You got Sean O'Malley, Henry Cejudo, Aljamain Sterling, Cody,
Garbrandt,
Corey
Sandhagen,
Corey Sandhagen,
Yeah.
Cody Garbrandt too. I know he's on a skid, but he's still a beast. TJ Dillashaw just retired.
And
Cheeto Vera, of course.
Yeah. But Umar, he's 100% convinced that he said he needs
Rob
3 or 4
Font.
fights this year, and by 2024 he'll be champion.
Hey,
And-
I'm not gonna.
He looked nasty.
I'm
bro.
not gonna doubt a Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, he looked nasty.
Nurmagomedov. So
But yeah, that was. And I do want to give a quick shout out to our boy, to my boy. Did an interview with him on 5 Minutes for Fighting. Javid Bashrat put on a great performance against Mendonça. Mateus Mendonça put on a good performance on the undercard.
Mendoza or Mendoza?
Mendonça. Yeah, put on a good perforance on the undercard.
That moves
Pieced him up.
Javid to 14-0.
14-0, and he had a little mini viral meme where because at the weigh-ins, Mendonça put the gun symbol up to his head, and then in between rounds, after piecing him up for a round, Javid gave him the
Was that
gun.
after the fight he did that, or
The
in
second
between
round,
rounds?
I think.
Oh,
After
okay. I
the
thought
second
it was
round.
after the fight.
No, it would have been better after the fight, but
Javid, another bantamweight, undefeated. So the bantamweight division stacked.
yeah.
There's no shortage of bantamweight stars.
So, but it's good card though. So
Fantastic card. Strickland got back in the win column. So.
yeah, that was big. It's he needed that.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of skidding there a little bit. But it does lead us to UFC 283 this coming weekend in Brazil. We've got Glover versus Jamal Hill. We've got the quadrilogy fight between Figueiredo and Moreno.
Is that how you say it when 4 people
Quadrilogy,
fight?
yeah.
4 times quadrilogy?
Yeah. Normally,
Quadzilla? Let's call it
it's
the
the
Quadzilla.
first ever quadrilogy in UFC history.
Wow.
And we've got Neil Magny versus Gilbert Burns. We got some good fights in
What's
that
so
card.
funny? As Dante's laughing,
You were staring at me. It just made me laugh.
But yeah, so let's just get right into it. Jamal Hill versus Glover.
yeah.
You said a few podcasts ago that you think Jamal Hill is the future of the light heavyweight division.
Right.
This is his opportunity to prove it. Who you got in the fight? Timmy?
Well, Glover Teixeira, legend of the sport. But, can I get an age on Glover? I know he's 40 plus. He's
43.
Yeah.
43 years old.
He's the Tom Brady of UFC.
Randy Couture was a heavyweight champion at what age? I believe 45, possibly 44. But we have seen older heavyweight champions before. This is light heavyweight, obviously. This is not heavyweight. We have seen older champions. Who's the oldest UFC champion in history? It's got to be Randy Couture.
Yeah, it's Couture. It's got to be, right?
So can Glover be champion again and pull it off? I don't know. I think age is going to play a factor. He will have the home field advantage. It's in his backyard in Brazil. But I think Jamal Hill's just primed to put a strap around his waist.
I'm predicting sweet dreams for Glover Teixeira. I think Jamal Hill will knock him out. Unless that fight gets to the ground, that old school jiu-jitsu, it could be a problem for
True.
Jamal.
True.
But if that fight stays standing, I think Jamal Hill will knock out Glover Teixeira, and we're gonna have a new light heavyweight champion. And I'm pretty stoked. He did that he did that Instagram live the night that he found out that he was getting the title shot, and he was like, "I'm bringing the gold back to Grand Rapids." Right. I think he's gonna bring it back to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I couldn't be more down.
100%. What you said is if it goes down to the floor, Jamal Hill will be in trouble. Glover Teixeira is too savvy. His jiu-jitsu is too savvy. Jamal wants to stay away from the floor, keep him on his feet. If it stays, on a stand and bang affair and they stay on their feet, I don't see how Jamal doesn't sleep him. Jamal's too athletic, too fast, too strong, great striking ability. Glover as well has great striking ability, but I think age will play a factor here, and that's speed. You got a guy, Jamal Hill's 31, I believe, 32.
31.
Yeah.
31. You have Glover Teixeira, 43. That's a difference of 12 years. Those 12 years makes a big speed difference.
Couture was 45, by the way.
45 when he was a heavyweight champion.
Who did he beat? I don't remember. I just remember. I can't ever get out of my head when Randy Couture fought Brock Lesnar. I think it was one of Lesnar's first fights in the UFC, and he got like Lesnar slept him, and it was That was hard to watch. That's one of my last memories of Couture. But Randy Couture, man, absolute legend of the sport. And yeah, I mean, hey, that's a sign that Glover could absolutely get this done. He could absolutely get this done.
So Jamal Hill's your pick.
Yeah, he is my pick. And
in the main event, we got Brandon Moreno.
no, it's the co-main. Co-main is Brandon Moreno.
No way.
Yeah, the main event is Glover versus Jamal.
I'm going to have to fact check that here.
Yep. It says here, main event, Glover, co-main, Moreno, Figueiredo.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You would think you'd make the quadrilogy the main event.
Yeah. But
I guess, people like to see those big boys bang.
heavyweight, man. You have better chance of a knockout in a heavyweight fight. You end the night on a knockout.
Light heavyweight, yeah.
Sorry, light heavyweight, yeah. So quadrilogy fight. Those fights have been amazing between Moreno and Figueiredo. This one is tougher to pick, in my opinion. I'm going with Moreno, but I don't feel great about the pick. It's like it is close to a coin flip as I can get for me. So
yeah, these guys every time they fight, it's a coin flip. It's always super close. They're both good everywhere on the ground, striking, defense, athleticism. This is I expect more of the same. This is gonna be, unless Brandon just flips the script, flips
flips the switch, yeah.
Flips the switch, and knocks him out. Figueiredo's he's no walk in the park. Figueiredo's a beast, and that's why he's champion. So I was at the last fight in Anaheim. It was very close.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, and I expect more of the same. I can't really pick a winner in this one. I'm leaning towards Moreno because of his size. He's a little bit taller than Figueiredo, a little bit by a hair, and it hasn't really made that big of a difference in the past, but
I also, I got a soft spot for superstars from Mexico. I like it when Mexico gets like a sports champion. I think it's dope. Like, we live in Southern California. We're super close to the Mexican border. I personally, I have a soft spot
am
for
leaning
it.
towards Moreno. Not to bring up my own personal grief, but my late father was a big Brandon Moreno fan. And
Was he really?
He was.
Oh, bro. Well, then let's go Moreno. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So for that reason alone, because my father, I miss him. I'm gonna go with Brandon Moreno here.
Yeah.
As well.
All right. Well, now I'm fucking going for Brandon Moreno.
Yeah. Let's go.
I'm not.
That was cold.
But yeah, I hate to put personal feelings into these things.
No,
but
dude.
I do have a soft spot for Brandon Moreno because he was my father's favorite fighter.
Dude, I used to hate Tom Brady, but my dad loves Tom Brady because Tom Brady's old, and it gives my dad hope for his life that he's my dad's in his late 60s now, and he sees a guy who's 44 years old, 45 years old, like Tom Brady, having all this success, and my dad looks up to Tom Brady. He wants to have that late wind in life. Yeah. So I'm like, fuck. Now I have to like Tom Brady now.
You're a good son. See, we just follow what our pops like.
Yeah.
If my pops like someone or likes you, I like you too. And I'm gonna lean with Moreno here. That's a bad analysis. That's a bad reason why to pick someone, but
maybe it's the best analysis, bro.
I got a personal feeling towards Moreno.
Yeah. Well,
What's the record in the quadrilogy?
it's
1-1-1.
Oh, that's right. They had a draw.
They had a draw.
Oh, yeah.
Win, loss, draw.
Who's coming off? Is it Moreno coming off the win?
Coming off the loss.
Coming off the loss, okay.
Figueiredo's the
But
champ right now.
Moreno is the first Mexican champion in UFC history. That moment when Moreno won the belt is one of the all-time great moments in UFC history, in my opinion.
Right.
In my opinion, when I watched that fight, and just so awesome to see how emotional he got. He got all choked up when that was amazing.
Well, Inside Fighting will have boots on the ground in Brazil, UFC 283
That's right.
this weekend. We have our reporter, Timmy Shoes, who will be joining us here shortly. We're going to go to a quick break and welcome him in on a Zoom.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a special guest joining us right now, live from Brazil. What city are you in, Timmy?
I'm in Brasilia, the capital, where all the fun was happening last week.
Brasilia, Brazil.
Wow.
Our head writer of InsideFighting.com, Timmy Shoes. Thanks for joining us, bro.
That's right. Well, Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
Brasilia. I didn't even know that was a city. Brasilia, Brazil?
Yeah, it was a constructed city. I think they moved the capital from Rio in the 60s, and they built the whole thing from scratch. It was basically just a big desert, and they built the city here.
You guys might recognize Timmy from our gambling show, How to Fuck Up Your Parlay. He does lead that every Fridays for the hottest picks in the fight game, whether it's boxing, UFC, MMA, kickboxing. Timmy Shoes will give you some advice on how to lose money. So if you want to lose money,
Absolutely.
Timmy fucking Shoes. But
I live up to the title, How to Fuck Up Your Parlay.
How to Fuck Up Your Parlay. Thanks for joining us. He actually will be on the ground in Brazil for UFC 283 this week. That's exciting. You looking forward to that or what?
Absolutely. Got some crazy championship fights going on. We got Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira for that vacant light heavyweight title. I'm really excited for that. And we also got the fourth fight between Brandon Moreno and Figgy. They're 1-1-1. So this is a true rubber match between those two. And I'm really excited for that card.
For the audience who doesn't know, Timmy Shoes is our resident MMA genius. How long have you been following MMA? What year? If you could let the audience know your knowledge goes.
Oh, jeez. I started getting heavy into MMA around 2006.
2006. So your knowledge is not as vast as our founder, Robbie Clark. It goes back to 99. This is our MMA casual here.
I am 100% the MMA. However, I'm a damn good bullshitter.
Damn right.
So
let's fucking go.
Yeah. I would have been heavy in 99, but I was only 9 years old at the time. So Robbie's got a few years on me.
So Timmy,
in that department.
Massive news over the weekend. UFC released heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. He's now the biggest free agent alongside Nate Diaz. I wanted to get your take on the release. Who do you think it hurts more, and why do you think they released him?
Well, I think this is a long time coming. We've known that Francis didn't like his contract with the UFC. And really, it wasn't about money for Francis. What the thing he didn't like about his contract was that he didn't have any freedom. He didn't have any freedom to explore options in boxing. The UFC fighters are called independent contractors, but he felt like he was basically imprisoned. I believe he actually said something along the lines of, you either trade money for freedom or freedom for money. You can't have both. So I think this was a long time coming. There's actually a clause in the UFC contracts that champions have to stay within the organization unless they don't fight for a year. So this might have been Francis's plan. He was going to sit out for a year while he was recovering from knee surgery. And he knew that once it was over, he was finally going to be able to get out of that contract.
So is that year retroactive? Like, does that kick back to the last time he fought?
Well, that's what it is.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, I was wondering if it's conditional upon release. Is what I was wondering.
A year from the last time you fought.
Okay.
Yeah, and for people who are curious about that, it's called the championship clause. People can look it up. Anybody who's a UFC champion, they have to stay in the UFC for 1 year after they fight. But after that, they can be released if they're not contractually obligated. So I don't think it was about the money. And I honestly think this is going to benefit Francis more because he's lined himself up nicely for a big payday.
Yeah,
you think this is going to benefit him more? Big payday.
Big payday. And, Dana White sort of implied this, that he gets to fight lesser competition for more money. And, if he stayed with the UFC, he was going to fight John Jones, which is, John Jones is the greatest of all time. And that's not an easy fight. And wherever Francis lands, he's going to make a lot of money. I mean, Tyson Fury pulled him into the ring after he knocked out Dillian White and said, hey, let's do this fight. He pulled in Francis. It was kind of funny. People should check out that clip because Francis was having a hard time understanding Tyson's accent a little bit. And Tyson was ribbing him a little bit, making fun of him a little bit. But I mean, both guys have talked about fighting each other. And if that happens, man, that's going to do a lot of pay-per-views.
If you had to put your money down, you are a gambling guy. Where is Francis Ngannou's next fight? What sport, what organization is Timmy Shoes predicting?
Well, I know that the BKFC president, David Feldman, says that he's going to make a play and he's going to throw a lot of money at Francis. And just the idea of Francis Ngannou without gloves in bare knuckle boxing, I mean, that's scary. I mean, who knows what that would happen? I don't think that's what's going to happen. If I had to put money on it, I think the two most likely scenarios are he signs with the PFL, or he does something in boxing, or he signs with the PFL and they let him be an independent contractor where he can go into boxing. So he does MMA in the PFL, but he still gets to explore options in boxing. And I know Jake Paul, he just signed with the PFL and he's still doing boxing. So maybe his deal will be similar, where he's doing boxing and he's doing MMA.
I want to see Bellator sign him, but I think he'll end up boxing Tyson Fury. Jesse Rowe?
Well, we talked about this a bit ago. I did say that I think that where I would like to see Ngannou go is boxing, simply because I think boxing is at its best when the heavyweight division is just stacked, right? Because then it's just got all these just killers. But when you brought up,
give me an answer, Rowe. Where's he ending up?
Boxing, and he's going to fight Tyson Fury. But the question is in what capacity, how that works. You mentioned something about freedom with Ngannou, and I did bring that up earlier, how it seems like he was weighing the pros and cons of staying with the UFC, and he was basically implied on a previous interview that you can't get the money with the freedom. Where is it, do you think he could go where he would get the money with the freedom? Do you think that the PFL is probably the best option? Do you think that that's where because you mentioned him being an independent contractor. Do you think that that's like the one promotion that potentially offers him that?
I think at this point, yes, because that's sort of what Jake Paul's deal is, right? Jake Paul is still going to be doing boxing, but he's also going to be doing MMA. And I think the PFL they would let him do something like that. Now with the UFC and even with Bellator, they would be like, no, we have the rights to your fights. We don't want you going off into boxing. So I think PFL, if you wanted to sign a deal with a promotion that would let him do both MMA and boxing, I think the PFL would be his best bet.
So if we do see a Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou fight in the boxing ring, who do you got and why?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things Francis Ngannou said when Tyson Fury pulled him into the ring during the white fight, or after the white fight, I should say, he said, maybe we'll do mixed rules. Like we'll wear MMA gloves and we'll do boxing. Now, obviously, if they box and they're wearing MMA gloves, that's going to favor Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
But I think you can never count Francis out of a fight because he's just got that off switch. He's got that right hand from hell. He can knock out any person on the planet. But Tyson Fury, he's a pure boxer. He's got skills. He's the best in the world. And if MMA rules aren't involved, it depends the extent of the MMA rules. I think Tyson Fury is going to take that fight almost every time. 9 times out of 10.
We agree. We said the same thing. We think Tyson's going to piece him up.
Do you think Francis leaving as the heavyweight champion delegitimizes the new UFC heavyweight champion, whether that's Gane or Jon Jones? Does that delegitimize their championship?
I don't think so. I know a lot of people are saying, where does Ngannou versus Jones rank as one of those fights we never got to see? Obviously, it's a fight everyone wanted to see. And, I'd still love to see that fight. Who wouldn't want to see that fight? But I don't think it delegitimizes Jon Jones versus Gane in any way because, Gane, he lost to Francis. Jones is coming up to heavyweight for the first time. It's still the two of the most skilled fighters we've ever seen at heavyweight in Ciryl Gane and Jon Jones. I mean, fans have been waiting 10 years, more than 10 years to see Jon Jones step into heavyweight. And Ciryl Gane, he's just a new breed, right? He moves slick. He strikes so good. Now, he showed a little bit of a weakness against Francis Ngannou's wrestling, and that might factor in. But I think this is the best fight at heavyweight with Ngannou out of the picture. And I don't see much point in thinking, this delegitimizes it. I don't really see it that way because Ngannou's getting to get to do his thing, and we're still getting like one of the best fights imaginable at heavyweight.
Were you surprised Jon Jones got an 8-fight deal? He's 35, right? 35? Is that what he is? An 8-fight deal after a 3-year layoff?
I would believe he's 34.
34, 35? Seemed that was a big deal, especially considering Jon Jones has made a big deal about that he was waiting for the right terms. He's been a 3-year layoff, waiting for the right terms on a contract, and then he signs an 8-fight deal at the UFC. Were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised because I know how much the UFC values Jon Jones and his star power. These long layoffs for Jones, it's been hard for the fans. I think it's been hard for the UFC, and it's been hard for Jones. And I think it was a culmination of things, right? After that 3-year layoff, he wanted to come back. And before the hiatus, he had spoken about, doing a lot more fights more frequently, and some things got in the way, obviously. But I think now he's looking to fulfill that promise of him fighting frequently. And I know you mentioned his age. I think he's 34 as well. But
35,
that's very young for a
35.
35.
Yeah.
Okay. That's still very young for a heavyweight. I think, Ngannou is 37 or 38. Stipe is pushing 40. Heavyweight's one of the divisions where the guys tend to run older.
Now, listen, fast forward 7 weeks. Ciryl Gane, John Jones, UFC 285, March 4th in Vegas. I got John Jones. I think he has a lot to prove. He got Henry Cejudo in his corner. I got John Jones by TKO. What do you got, Timmy Shoes? Ciryl Gane.
I think John Jones. I got John Jones by decision. I think Ciryl Gane's going to have his moments on the feet, but I don't think he's going to be able to stop the takedowns of Jones. Maybe he's able to stuff 1 or 2 takedowns, but Jones is going to pour it on him.
That's why I'm picking him by TKO. I think he's going to pour it on him, ground and pound, hold him down, TKO. So your pick is Jones' decision.
Yes.
And
I think that's safe. But I honestly see a route that you just said. He's ground and pounding him. He's throwing in those elbows. Maybe he gets that crucifix position, because I think Gane is going to get taken down. The question is, can Gane get it back to his feet and then keep the fight on his feet? If he can, then maybe Gane wins the decision. But I think Jones is going to win this fight.
I picked Gane to be my champion at the end of 2023, so I have to hope that Gane wins the fight somehow.
Who's your pick, brother?
Jones.
Jones. You're still picking Jones.
Yeah. Gane will get a rematch. They'll have a great fight, and Gane
Timmy's
gets a rematch.
right though. Timmy's very right. If Gane can keep it on his feet, he probably wins the fight, because he's probably he's the bigger guy, obviously, and his striking ability is either that of John Jones or greater. And we saw Dominic Reyes have a lot of success fighting John Jones when it was a stand and bang affair. So I'm pretty sure Ciryl Gane is a lot better than Dominic Reyes and can outdo Dominic Reyes' performance. As long as Ciryl Gane could put on a better performance than Dominic Reyes, you're right. I think Ciryl Gane will take home the victory if they keep it on their feet. The key to victory for John Jones is get to the floor and do your thing. You're a wrestler, and show them who's boss on the floor. Timmy Shoes, you will be at UFC 283. In the main event, we have Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira. It's for the interim lightweight heavyweight bout championship. Do you know what the fuck going on?
Listen, man, this is a hard fight to call, because Jamal Hill, his nickname is Sweet Dreams for a reason. We know that Glover gets hit. Leading up to his championship fight with Jan Blachowicz, it was like a meme, right? He would get rocked, and then he would submit the guy. That happened 3 or 4 times before he became champion. And I think Teixeira has more ways to win, right? He has great boxing. He has the submission game. He has the wrestling. And Jamal Hill showed a weakness a little bit against the grappling. Paul Craig, snapped his arm off when he fought Paul Craig.
Right.
Who is also fighting
Jamal
on this card,
Hill,
by the way. Just a reminder.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is interesting. They actually formed a friendship, Jamal Hill and Paul Craig, after that fight. But anyway, I think Hill has to knock him out, and Teixeira has multiple ways to win. I can't pick against Glover Teixeira, man. He's, I'm biased for the Brazilians. 43-year-old who became champion. It's a great story. And, you got to go with the guy who has more ways to win. I think Teixeira has more ways to win. So I'm going with my boy Glover.
I like that pick. And for the audience, he is biased for the Brazilians because he does have a son who is half Brazilian, correct?
That is correct. Luca is half Brazilian.
So I can respect that.
Figueiredo versus Moreno. Rapid fire, quick. Do you know what the fuck going on?
Man,
you know what the fuck going on?
We're going to be watching these guys fight for a minute. I can't wait for Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo 7.
Is it pronounced? Is it a quadrilogy? By the way, I called it a quadrilogy earlier on. I believe that is the correct terminology, right?
I don't know, bro. Probably quadrilogy. For me, it's the rubber.
Sounded
match,
right.
That's right, Jesse.
Thank you, Dante. By the way, Don.
The first fight was a draw. The second fight, Moreno choked him out. And then this last one is a very close decision. The thing that's interesting about this fight is that I think Moreno is more technical in most areas. He is the more technical fighter. But Deiveson Figueiredo has a physicality about him in that flyweight division that other dudes just don't have. And that was the difference in the last fight. You know, Figgy knocked him down a couple times. You can tell that even though his boxing wasn't as crisp or wasn't as intelligent, there was a lot more power behind it.
Who's your pick?
So
if we're trying to make this an IG reel, you got to keep it under 90 seconds. Give me a pick there, Timmy Shoes.
I'm going Figgy.
Another Brazilian, Timmy Shoes picking Deiveson Figueiredo. Interesting. You're good. You want in the main and co-main, you're going for the Brazilian blowout shutout.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And in the fight leading up to that, Burns versus Magny, I got Burns too.
Wow.
Magny coming off a big win over our boy Daniel Rodriguez. Really quick, Timmy, will Justin Verlander replace the void left in the hearts of Mets fans by losing Jacob deGrom?
I don't want to talk about it because you know what I'm worried about is that Verlander is going to.
We're out of time. All right, thanks for. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, no one wants to hear about baseball.
Sorry, that was a joke.
What should I say?
I got Verlander inside one round, though.
There you go.
Timmy, as reporters, we're fortunate enough to have the ability to speak to some of our favorite fighters. Is there a fighter on this card you're most looking forward to asking a question to, and what will that question be? And let's see if you can deliver that question.
Oh, I like this.
You know, this week. So
you got a couple of former TMZ guys, too. So
who are you looking forward to talking to, and what's the question going to be?
I'm really looking forward to talking to Paul Craig, of all people, because I think he's a dark horse in that division. He's the only man who ever beat Magomed Ankalaev in MMA, who just fought for the title.
People consider that a black eye on Ankalaev's record, too.
He's the only man who ever beat Jamal Hill in MMA.
I'm about to give you a black eye if you keep cutting off Timmy Shoes, brother.
A blemish.
So
that was a bad
this
joke.
is a dude. He's got a weird fighting style, but he quite obviously has the tools to beat any guy on any given fight. So I want to ask him if he thinks he gets recognized for that. People kind of think like, he's not at that elite level, but he's beaten the best guys. He's beaten the guys who are now fighting for
What's the question, Timmy Shoes? What's the cue?
I would ask Paul Craig if he thinks he gets the recognition he deserves for being that guy who beat these two guys who are, championship caliber, but no one talks about him for that accomplishment. They just, like Jesse said, they just sort of say, oh, it's the black guy in his record. I can't believe you lost to Paul Craig. It's like, no, Paul Craig beat those guys legitimately.
Cap said that on our first podcast. We were talking about Magomed Ankalaev. Cap said that.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
People say. So I want to ask Paul Craig, like, how do you feel about that? Do you think you get the recognition you deserve? Do you think the fans realize that you're a guy, who is at that championship
Not a
level?
bad question. Not a bad question, Timmy Shoes. It might seem a little basic to the audience, but sometimes those are the best questions because they deliver, questions that are answers that are in depth. We're not here to critique your questions. We're here for the audience that doesn't know. This is Jesse Rowe spent 15 years at teams.
11 and a half.
Oh, 11 and a half.
Over a 13-year span.
I gave you too many years.
Yeah,
he
did.
spent 11 and a half years at TMZ asking questions. I spent 10 years at TMZ.com asking questions. We have asked thousands of questions in our life. But good luck to you, Timmy. I think you will hammer out that question, and the answer is going to probably make waves. It's going to be spectacular. Paul Craig is of what descent?
He's Scottish.
That's what I thought. Correct me if I'm wrong. He has walked to the ring in one of those kilts before,
and he is fighting a Brazilian. Correct.
Correct. He's fighting Johnny Walker.
Right. Who? That's
a good fight.
He might also feel like he's not getting the respect he deserves. That's another guy you could ask that question to.
Johnny Walker has had
Jamal Hill knocked Johnny Walker
out. A few
out.
losses. Yeah. He won his last one, where he left the arena in his full uniform, which was a little bizarre.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Prior to that, I think he had a couple losses. That's a good fight. I got Paul Craig over Johnny Walker by submission. That's my pick. I do have Paul Craig there.
I think Johnny Walker is due for another run at some point. I don't think he'll ever be champion, but he's due for another run.
Timmy, you are the host of How the Fuck Could Be a Parlay, the gambling show. Will you be hosting it from Brazil on Friday, or are you going to need the week off?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna beam it in. I'm gonna
give us a taste. What's something we can look forward to before you go?
I got money on Paul Craig.
Okay,
Paul Craig. So you like that pick?
I'm going against the Brazilian on that one.
Wow.
So,
Timmy, good luck in Brazil, bro. We're looking forward to it. UFC 283 Inside Fighting. We'll have boots on the ground. Good luck, man. Go get us some good content. All right.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm excited. It's going to be a great card, and I'm glad to be representing Inside Fighting.
Let's go.
Good luck, Timmy Shoes. Don't be too excited, bro. Kick back, lay back a little bit. Always remember, But anyways, you'll be fine. You're not going to be over the top like some of these guys. But
I'll keep it cool.
Yeah, keep it cool.
All right, good luck, bro.
All right, Timmy Shoes, thanks for joining us, bro. We'll see you next week on the Inside Fighting Podcast Fight Season. Let's go. You know what the fuck going on.
Let's go.